So this is April 30th, class 6, the Sunday night GU Josh and Dan show, and we are recording, so watch your mouth.
All right, guys. Well, congrats on getting this far and almost being done. You guys got one more class session after this, so kudos to you. What we're going to go over today is another PowerPoint, of course, but before that, we are going to have some people present their 990 analysis forms. So do we have anyone that wants to volunteer?
Me.
Awesome. Maggie will go first. Does anyone want to go after Maggie?
I can go.
Perfect. We'll go Maggie and then Hannah. Dan, did you want to do 3 today?
I'll do mine if you want a third.
Perfect. Jason.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll do those 3.
We can do up to 4, 3 or 4.
Okay, so we'll start off with Maggie, Hannah, and Jason, and then if there's anyone who wants to go after Jason, just let us know, okay? So Maggie, tell us a little bit about your organization, why you chose them, and then walk us through your 990 form.
Okay, my organization is called Rainbow Village. The reason why I choose them is because of the impact that they have on the community in reference to helping homelessness. The only how that I was able to get information about this particular nonprofit was through my church, because we were basically praying for the organization. I never did any type of volunteer work or anything, but when we came up with this information, I was like, when I went to GuideStar, I realized that pull up the information, and then basically read about what it is that they have been doing within the community. So what they basically do is they provide housing for families, most definitely in most cases as mothers that are going through abusive relationship with their kids, and they basically help them transition. So what the program basically do is they help them with their kids after school program, help them to find jobs, get them into a home, and then they help them, that period is within like a 2-year period. And then after they graduate, they have different classes and courses that the moms have to go through. And then after that, they go to another division that allows them to help them find permanent housing. And then they're there with them for actually 3 years, walking them through the entire process. So what I like with that is that as a family, whatever it is that you're going through is always to know, it always said that it takes a village to raise a child. So with Rainbow Village, they're literally there throughout the entire process for 5 years to give you time to heal, to give you time to get yourself together, making sure that you have the essentials that you need, and then help you to be able to transition into the world. So that was basically it. They started in 1991. And basically we have members at our church, the kids, we basically have them coming to our church services. So that's how I get to be affiliated with the Rainbow Village. And it's good to see them from small, growing up, going to middle school, then high school, graduating. So like I said, now that I'm learning about Given University and what you do for organizations, I think that this would be a great way for me to get involved with Rainbow Village, to do volunteer work and also to be able to give more. In reference to the scorecard, I thought it was very challenging. When I did the 990 analysis, they got a 15, but I'm ready to plead my case because I'm a visual person. I don't know about the logistics on why they have the 15. I would make that determination for the board, but basically what I can see, what they've been doing within the community, where I'm here in Duluth, Georgia, there's a lot of people that live in extended stays, like hotels and stuff like that. And that's not a safe environment to say that you have for your kids. So what they're basically doing at Rainbow Village is helping families get out of extended stays and hotels and to be able to be there to help them to get on their feet. So that's why I'm being an advocate for them today and being able to present it to see if that we can help them. And I myself will want to be able to help them as well in the future by giving and volunteering.
Wow, I love it. Great job. Great job. Does anybody have any questions for Maggie?
Maggie, you said they were a 15. What kind of brought them down with the rest of
Um,
it?
Let me see, based on the analysis form, I think the one where they got the one was on the page 10 with the third column, which show how much of the expenses of management and overhead. So that's the lowest score that they basically had got. And they got a 2 on the last one. So basically everything was 3s, and then coming down to the last, and they got a 1 and a 2.
All right, any other questions? And now you said the score was a 15?
Yes,
15, okay. They've been around since 1991.
that is
Did you
correct.
mention what age group they target? Is this kids coming out of high school or?
From elementary all the way up to high school.
Wow. Well, what I like about that is that they invest the time, whether it takes up to 5 years to get these kids transitioned into a proper home, get them educated, teach them a trade. I love that because there's a lot of pop-up places that will invest into a kid for 6 months to a year and then kind of throw them to the side, and that kid's left worse off than what he was before. So I love how they walk them from start to finish, all the
Yes.
way through the process for 5 years. That stood out to me. Awesome. Well, good job. Thank you for presenting. I give you an A+, but I'm not the grader, so just know you got an A from me. Hannah, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Awesome,
So the
okay.
organization that I've chosen is called Women of the World, and it's in Salt Lake. And really what their goal is to help refugees and immigrants, specifically women, who need help becoming self-reliant, that they've moved into a new country and they need help finding jobs, or they want to be educated, or they need English classes. So what they do is there's a huge variety of like the help that they offer. A lot of times it's just helping these women find jobs, or helping them, like a lot of these women are already educated in their own countries and have certificates and different things, but they're not like valid here in our country. So it's helping them work through that process of making sure that they can use their different licenses and certificates. And they offer English classes as well as like a mentorship program, which this is what I'm really excited about, is they have opportunities for like people in the community to come and volunteer and serve as a mentor for these women, and be a support system and kind of walk them through whatever it is that they're struggling with, whether it's like they need help paying their bills for healthcare, or they need help with English classes and homework, or finding scholarships, different things. But that people can come in and get some training and then be mentors for them, which is pretty neat. They also do a really cool, this is a part of like their fundraising, they do a fashion show every year, which all these women from different countries come and show their culture and are able to do that with their different form of dress. And people can come and purchase tickets to be able to see that and participate in those shows. But they also have a ton of different fundraisers. But they ended up getting a perfect score on the 990 form, which I thought was really impressive. Yeah, what questions do you guys have?
It sounds really cool. I had an organization similar in St. Louis that I wanted to support, but they just didn't get a high enough score. But that's very exciting to me, helping people to transition into our country, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Hannah, what drew you to this organization?
So I think being a woman and like understanding like women's health, I feel like that's something that drew me to this, is like so many of these women just like need access to like health care and different things, or just need English teaching. And I can see how valuable that is. And so many of these people, they just like don't know how to find their path in a different country. Like they offer so many different skills and abilities. They just need someone to like provide the way for them to figure out how they can like use those skills. And so I think it's exciting that I'll be able to participate in like volunteering and stay connected to this group, which is cool. And I just like what they support. So yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know immigrants were moving to Utah. Interesting.
Yeah, right. There is
Um,
diversity, even in Utah.
So do they bring women into to the program that, let's say, they're not legally a US citizen yet? I don't know if you mentioned that. And they need help
That's a
getting
good
passports.
I would think that they help. That's a really good question. I don't know. I'll need to look into that and see.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Keep us updated with that. I think
yeah,
that's something interesting. Like if they help them get proper US documentation, passports, IDs, driver's licenses, all that.
for sure.
But I think the English classes are very powerful because that's the first thing is the barrier of communication. So if you teach those English classes there, you're already helping them half of the way. Half the hardship is just the language barrier when they move to a new country. So that's awesome. Does anyone else have any questions for Hannah? Did you mention what they scored on the 990?
They got a perfect score.
Wow. That's good. All right. Well, if no one has any questions, let's go ahead and jump over to Jason.
Good evening, everyone. So the charity that I chose or the nonprofit that I chose is called Project Angel Food. And Project Angel Food works throughout LA County, which is good because they come all the way down to Long Beach, which is where I live. They've been around since 1992, and their organization cooks and delivers healthy, nutritious meals and nutritional counseling to those people that need it most. Most of the clients are suffering from a really chronic and possibly terminal disease like cancer or HIV or Alzheimer's, and they don't have a good support network. So the Project Angel Food gives them a case manager that helps them work with their nutritional needs as prescribed by their doctor, because everybody has nutritional needs that are really pretty sensitive at that point in their life. So they make them good meals, which are also on a rotation, so they're not always getting the same meal over and over. It's kind of what I would call like a mid-sized group. It says that there's 4,700 volunteers. So it's a pretty big group within LA County. They do a lot of fundraising. They scored a 16 on the analysis. The only thing they scored 3s and everything except for they had a couple people. The CEO was making more than $170,000 a year because it's a larger organization. So they have tons of like benefits and things to organize. So that it looks like they have a really corporate professional kind of running the organization. And then their board also included like 30 or 40 non-paid members, but there were a couple people at the top making pretty good money. This year in 2022, actually, they served their 16 millionth meal. So what kind of drew me to this is it's a successful organization that's been running for a couple decades doing really good work. And I'm interested to see how they're so successful, why they have such good longevity, and they have so many volunteers. Like, what's the secret sauce that makes it work? No pun intended. And also, my dad recently passed away from congestive heart failure, and they have a program tailored for that as well. My dad wouldn't have qualified for this because he had, support in a home, but I know that people that are severely ill with chronic illness, how a good meal and eating healthy can really help you feel better about your place in life, whether your illness is, whether you're going to succumb to your illness or not. Like having a good, healthy meal in you and just feeling that support just makes somebody feel so good. So that's what drew me to it.
Nice. I love that. And I was going to ask that what drew you to it, but you kind of answered that yourself. And we're sorry to hear about the loss of your father as well, too.
Yeah, thank you.
So that makes it kind of personal for you, honestly, just seeing the organization help out. Because you said they had a part like specifically tailored for exactly what your dad was going through.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Congestive heart failure. Yeah, so like probably a low salt diet, high in a lot of vegetables. Stay away from the salts and the fats.
Yeah. And you said they scored a 16 on the 990?
They scored a 16. Yep, they scored perfect on everything except for the salaries.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how long have they been around for?
1992.
92.
And they won California Nonprofit of the Year in 2017 and 2019. So that's
Wow.
another thing, is I kind of am interested in seeing an organization that's doing things really well. You know,
Right.
seeing what makes them work so well.
Because you don't win that award twice by accident.
Right. Yeah,
So
they're doing something.
something. Right. How do you feel personally about the high salaries for the top level executives?
When I looked at it, at first you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. But then you think, well, they're running a pretty big organization with
Mhm.
lots of moving parts. Their website, they're always doing, they've got press conferences and galas and fundraisers. And it takes somebody, multiple people, it's their full-time job. So to get in, I think they brought in, last year, I think they brought in $11 million in revenue, of which 9 million was contributions. So they're doing something very successfully. And it takes, a lot of times when you're running an organization that big, it takes somebody that really has a lot of industry experience, whether it was private or governmental experience. And now they're putting all that energy into raising funds. So it didn't really bother me.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you for sharing that. Good job. Does anyone else have any questions? No? All right. Well, good job, you guys. Is there a fourth person who wants to present their 990 analysis form? All right. So we'll just go for you three today. Thank you guys, Jason, Hannah, and Maggie. You guys did an amazing job. And now you got it out the way. So how is it going? We're going to discuss the Poverty Inc. questionnaire. This is one of your guys' homework assignments. How is that going for everybody? Good? Has anyone not watched the Poverty Inc. documentary? It's okay to be honest. Okay.
I haven't. I'll be honest, I haven't.
Yeah, no worries at all. It's a great documentary to watch. I highly encourage to watch it whenever you do get a free time. I know how it is. You get busy schedules. Sometimes you're just not able to. But if you can set aside, I forget how long it is, but yeah, it's
I
a
think
normal
it's like
documentary.
90 minutes or so, if I remember.
Yeah, but it's amazing. It's very eye-opening. It's very educational. It's not like a boring documentary or like some historical type stuff. It's very powerful and impactful the way that they present it to you. And also, you need to watch it because you have a questionnaire that we got to fill out to graduate this class, right? But I want to touch base on Poverty Inc. I won't spoil too much of it, but for those who have seen it, Martin gave us some great responses. Is Martin in this class, Dan? I think Dan's busy. Oh yeah, Martin is in this class.
Yes, Martin is.
So Martin, your response is, Martin, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm online.
Awesome. I just want to give you the mic for a quick minute. You could just share your thoughts on what you thought of Poverty Inc. because your responses on your questionnaire were just amazing and we really like them. So I want to give you a minute to just share what you took from Poverty Inc.
Well, I thought it was very eye-opening how, an industry could develop really kind of on the backs of those that are impoverished. And one thing that kind of made me wonder is whether, the issue is with Poverty Inc. is that no energy is being placed on taking people and giving them a vision and trying to break through those things, such as things that come about because of poverty, such as laziness. Okay, I can't do the job because things are coming for free, so I'm not going to work. And or giving people a vision on how to move ahead. So there's no energy really being placed on that. All the energy is going into getting people to donate, $50, $100, $200 from individuals in the US or, other countries, or corporations to donate, larger sums. And then all these NGOs non-government organizations and other organizations are taking all that money and then sending it directly to the governments that are where all these people live. And, the first thing I kind of get, almost like you feel like watching it multiple times, to kind of see this, because a whole industry is developed around that. And then I started thinking, well, with the homelessness situation in the US, are we recreating the same thing that's in Haiti in certain major cities of the country, like Oregon and Washington? Because it's like the people are almost being used by these organizations to collect, large quantities of money, and they're benefiting more than the people that, got the issues, So I was actually looking to see if they ever came up with that thing was made back in 2014, which is like 9 years ago. And I was, wondering if there was ever anything that came up, kind of a catch up on it. But yeah, I think it's very eye opening. So that's my initial thoughts.
No, that's great. And it is very eye opening. That's the way I would describe it. The cool thing is what it teaches you is this is one of the flaws in our current roads plan to help third world countries. And the example they use in the video is Haiti. So Haiti was hit by a huge earthquake back in the early 1980s. It damaged infrastructure all throughout Haiti. Businesses, houses were destroyed. So what happened? The world came together and started sending all these resources. All these countries were flooding in resources to Haiti, right? But what did that do? It diluted the market extraordinarily. And what it did is, for example, rice is one of their biggest imports and exports there in Haiti. People lost their rice business because of the earthquake. Now the United States and all these other countries are flooding in rice into this community, into this country. So now they're getting free rice, right? Well, how is a person supposed to rebuild his business who lives in Haiti, who was born there, has a business there, he makes rice and sells it? How is he supposed to compete with this though? He can't sell his rice because who would go buy rice when they're getting it for free from the US? So this person, he's out of business now. And it was the same thing with the solar company. All these first world countries were sending in solar panels. So the energy company that was already out there providing energy went out of business. Why? Because they can't compete with free. They're getting all these things for free from all these first world countries. So now they're stuck in poverty and they're stuck depending on the first world country for their resources. It also created a lack of a drive to go work. Why would anyone want to go work minimum wage in a rice field when they could just get rice for free? So now no one wants to work anymore. It's very similar to what happened during COVID when they were handing out all the unemployment money, the PPO loans. You see what happened after that. All these people got into a mindset of just take, free money, free money. But what happened when those loans ended? And what happened when the pandemic lifted and everyone was supposed to go back to work? A lot of people did not want to go back to work. A lot of people only wanted to work from home. A lot of businesses went out of business and never started back up. It was because of the handouts, what it did to them mentally, psychologically, and what it does to the market. So it's very interesting watching this video because you see what's one of the biggest flaws in our plan, the world's plan together of how we're supposed to help third world countries, how we're supposed to help a country after a natural disaster. It's a lot more complicated than you would think. You would think it's just great to send a bunch of resources there, but we don't realize that we're damaging the economy in that country. We're putting out, if we send a bunch of rice to Haiti, we're putting rice companies in Haiti out of business. And now they have no economy, self-sustaining economy. Their economy is based on receiving free support and free supplies from first world countries. And so it's just a very eye-opening video. I highly encourage you guys to watch it. And then of course, for your Poverty Inc. questionnaire, if you guys have any questions, email Dan and let him deal with it. But it's a great video, so you guys will love it. So we're gonna jump into the lesson now today. As I'm about to share my screen, does anyone have any comments or thoughts or anything they want to add to what I just spoke about Poverty Inc.?
I guess I have a very simplified comment, question. Is the solution to instead invest in the businesses of the country? Is that like the simple solution? Instead of just pouring resources into the government, the solution is to invest in the companies of the country, right?
That's
Is that
my opinion. Yes,
okay?
that's
That's
my
just the
suggestion.
opinion.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's the saying of teach a or give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. We're giving them
Right.
fish. We're handing them food for a day, but what happens the second day? They come back to us with their hands out. What if we go in there and we help get that business up and running, self-sustaining, launch it, invest into that business, and now they're producing the fish for their own country, for their own ecosystem, basically, for their community. Well, now you have
And
a
that was
business. Go ahead.
And that was the main complaint of the small business owners that were trying to get loans. They couldn't get them from the government because the government was just getting it in a different way. They were stuck in whatever contract they had with NGOs and all that, right? It was kind of complicated to understand, but that's kind of what I was understanding.
Yeah, you got it. And what it gets hard is because then it gets political. And
Okay.
then there's also some governments, not every government is absolutely have the right intentions. There's a lot of corrupt governments as well. So now you're dealing with that. There's also a lot of corrupt NGOs who are in this for profit only. And so when you have that combination, it gets very complicated. It gets very political, and we're seeing that today. And it's, there's no one really has a perfect solution, or else we would have had it in place yet. We're still have impoverished countries, third world countries, and so no one has came up with the perfect solution yet. But no, you're exactly right. I share your thoughts on it. Like if we go in and just help the businesses, but the hard part is the money's going to these governments first, and then we're expecting the governments to hand it to the business. But the governments are going off and paying off their own debt. They're doing whatever their hidden motives are with the money, and the communities are suffering for that. The normal people. So,
Okay.
I think one thing to look at also is, for example, Turkey just got hit with that big, huge earthquake where 50,000 people died. So, probably sending them food and water and supplies for a while is very helpful to everybody. And maybe look at things where maybe on an emergency basis a little more. When it's long term, that's when you got to kind of see what's up, why is this so long term? And maybe that's where you try to invest in businesses. When you do all this stuff where you give money, the best thing that people can get is a good job. And that way, they feel valued and they produce and they're productive. Unfortunately, it's not always possible to get good jobs for everybody. It's a little more complicated than that, but I think, Haiti's been on kind of like the thing forever. And so maybe look at different places in the world where some other things are going on. Also, Kiva, when you talked about loan, that's what Kiva does. Remember, we had Kiva on here, and maybe see if Kiva does bigger loans, like instead of $100, maybe 1,000 or 10,000. And that's another way because they're loaning money. And there's other organizations like Kiva that did the same thing. I think the best thing though is it wakes you up to the fact that just because you throw money or buy rice, it fixes stuff. And there's no doubt it helps a little bit, but the long term is really kind of what we're interested in.
right. It helps in the short term, but what's the solution for the long term? So I'm going to share my screen. Dan, can you allow Josh 7 to share the screen?
Sure.
I got a whole situation over here. I don't even want to explain, but I got a desktop where the camera doesn't work, and I got a laptop where the mic doesn't work.
It's because you buy cheap stuff all the time, but whatever.
Whatever. Okay.
Thank you.
So we're sharing now.
You have it now?
Okay, let me try.
I think you're.
Yep. It should
oh,
be
you-
good.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. All right. All right, so this is class 6, high impact generosity, freeing up resources, growing your generosity. So a penny saved. A penny saved is a penny earned. That was from Ben Franklin in the 18th century. You have heard it before, but do you know what it means? Does anybody know what that means or want to take a guess at it? Anybody?
I
Well,
guess
if you don't spend the penny, if you don't spend the penny, then you're a penny ahead.
yeah, you've actually got it.
Okay, that's good. So not spending money is just as valuable as earning it and spending it. A penny saved is 2 pennies earned. That was from Andrew Tobias in the 20th century. Why is that? Why is a penny saved 2 pennies earned? So I want to take a guess at that.
Maybe it's like if you spend the penny, you're in the hole. And so it takes you 2 pennies to get ahead.
I like that answer.
Or because if you save it, you're investing. So you earn double to what you save.
Oh, that's
Sometimes,
good.
anyway.
That's a really good answer, Casey. Good. Okay. So half your earnings go to various taxes. 25% goes federal, 10% to state, 8% Social Security and Medicare, 8% to sales. You're looking at almost 50% of your income if we're just gonna estimate 25, 35, 43, 51% going towards various taxes. It takes $8 of earnings to buy a $4 cup of coffee. A penny saved is 3 pennies earned. Why is that? And this one's a little bit tougher than the last two.
Because you're gonna make interest. I don't know.
Yeah, invest in it, kind of like Casey said. So it's because people put purchases on credit cards and don't pay them off, or have student loans, car loans, home equity loans, etc. Okay, so taxes take away the first penny and interest takes away the second penny. So it takes $12 of earnings to pay for a $4 cup of coffee with your credit card. It's basically triple with the credit card, right? Because the interest, now you're including interest into it once you invite the credit cards in. And we'll get into more depth into that conversation right there. But if I have money in my checking account, I'm good. These are perspectives on people's personal finances. If I have money in my checking account, I'm good. If I have available credit in my credit card, I'm good. So let's discuss the consequences of living life with minimal focus on finances. And whatever, I'll speak on this really quick, whatever you put your focus towards, whatever you invest your time towards, your energy towards, it grows. So if you're focusing on finances, you start noticing subscriptions that you need to cancel out. You start noticing you're spending too much money on whatever it might be, shopping, anything. But when you start focusing on it, you start minimizing wasteful expenses in your life, and you start maybe thinking about investing money, getting life insurance, things like that. You start thinking about the future. But if you have minimal focus on finances, and anyone could jump in and speak on this, but it's kind of like your money just comes and goes. I think all of us can say that we've been at one point in our life, we're living check to check, not knowing if we're going to make it that next month. I think every American has been there at some point in their lifetime. But does anyone want to speak on discussing the consequence of living life with a minimal focus on their finances?
Well,
right, everyone, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, it's dangerous. I mean, you have to make sure that you're protecting yourself for if you were to get injured. If you have a child, you know, any extenuating circumstances, you have to be mindful that you're not living on credit.
Right. When you're living on credit, it gets very dangerous. And I get it. Sometimes a lot of people have to do that. But if you don't want to make it a habit, if you have to live off credit, you want to make a plan right away to start paying off that credit, not paying off the minimum because you'll never get out of it. And this is also what we're going to be talking about too. So think of each purchase as costing you double or 3 times. You will have to reduce your other spending in order to start paying off the debt. Cut up most or all, if necessary, of your credit cards. This exercise for debt elimination. Consider the following situation. We have a credit card. It's at 24% interest. It has a $10,000 balance on it, right? So we max it out. It's at $10,000, 24% interest, and we have a 3% minimum payment. What is your minimum payment this month? So what is 3% of 10,000? Any finance guys in here want to throw that number out? 3% of 10,000?
Is that 300?
$300.
300, okay. Second question, how much interest will you pay this month? This one's a little bit tougher. I'll walk you guys through that one. That one actually even took me a good amount of time to calculate that. So let's look at this. Number 3, if you always pay only the minimum payment, how long do you think it would take to pay off that money? So it's $10,000. Your minimum payment was what? 3%, which is 300. So if you're paying off a $10,000 credit card, you're doing 300 a month. Someone throw out a guess. How long do you think it would take to pay that off? 1 month, 1 year, 5 years? What do you think?
Yeah, 5 years, 3 years.
3 years, okay. If you reduce your spending by $200 per month or $7 a day, and instead pay the minimum, which is 300, plus that 200 a month you're saving, for a total of 500 a month, every month, how long do you think it would take to pay off? So Jason said 5 years if you're paying the minimum. What do you think it would take if you were adding that extra 200 a month on top of the minimum?
I think it would take way longer to pay it off if you were paying the minimum, like 30 or 40 years or something.
Okay,
25 years.
nice, okay. So
I think it
so
would
you
take
say,
more like 5 to pay it off if you did it the second way.
gotcha. Good, we got some guesses going on. All right, so let's see. So these are the answers to all those questions. Number 1, if you have a 3% minimum payment on a $10,000 balance, your monthly payment is $300. So you guys got that right. Many credit cards have a 2% or smaller minimum payment. Answer number 2, 24% annual interest. What you want to do is divide whatever your credit card interest is, or if your car loan, everything has an interest rate. Take that interest rate and divide it by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. So if you have a 24% annual interest, that's what, 2% a month. So your interest, what's 2% of 10,000? That's $200. So when they say 24% annual interest, what you're really looking at is $200 a month. Remember, your minimum payment is what? $300. So if you're paying $300 payments every month, the minimum, 200 of that is going to interest. Only $100 reduces the debt.
Mhm.
This is how interest works. This is what they never teach you in high school either. We'll skip this. So this is the answer, and you were right about that. It will take over 25 years. If you do the minimum payment, pay $300 a month on that $10,000 credit card at 24% interest. If you're paying the minimum, it would take you over 25 years to pay that credit card off. This is the sneaky side of interest. Why? Because the minimum payment goes down each month. So if you just look at the minimum payment amount and pay that, you end up paying less and less. Notice the minimum payment going down on this left side of the screen right here. The minimum payment month one, it's 300, but then it goes down to 297, 294, 291. After 14 months, it's down to, you went from 300 to 263. Oops, let's go back. So the principal paid is how much of your money is actually going towards the $10,000 debt. The first month it's 100, but you see every month it slowly trickles down. Not a big deal in the first year. It's only a $10 difference, but after 2 years, that's $20. 3 years, that's a $30 difference. This is why it ends up taking 25 years to pay it off. The interest paid, remaining balance, you see the total interest is just accumulating. It's $200 in that first month, but by month 14, you're at $26.25. What if we stuck with a $300 payment and didn't even add anything additional? We just went from 25 years to less than 5. I think this is backwards though. What if we stuck with $300 payment and didn't even add anything? What I think it is if you pay 300, the minimum, it'll take 25 years. If you throw in that extra $200 on top of it, you go from 25 years to less than 5 years. And you didn't even double it. It's not like you maxed out the payments or anything. You just added an extra $200 a month on top of that $300 payment. You see how much you cut that interest down from 25 years to less than 5 years. Now we commit to 500 a month, and I might be saying this wrong, bear with me. Just 200 over the current minimum, just over 2 years. I think I'm off here.
Josh, I think it's saying if you just keep paying 300 and not the minimum, you just stick with that 300 number instead of going down to 288 and 263 or whatever. I think that's what it's saying for the 5 years. At least that's the way I understand the slide.
I'm gonna go with your answer.
Does that make sense? Like you just keep paying 300 no matter what the minimum says.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense completely. And you just see the power now if you actually do throw in extra money on top of that as well. You could pay that thing off in just over 2 years, 26 months. So 2 years and 2 months. So it's an exercise for debt elimination. What if you pay 500 a month each month on your credit card, but continue to spend 300 a month on that same card? So you're paying 500 a month, but you're still spending $3 a month on that card. You will never pay it off. $10,000 balance minus your $500 payment. But remember, it's $200 of interest every month, and then you just spend $300 on it. So between the interest and your spending, that's $500. Your whole payment's gone basically at that point. Your balance would just stay right there at that 10,000. So debt elimination strategy, if you have debt with multiple credit cards, this is a strategy for you to use. There's multiple strategies. This is just one or two. If the interest rates are pretty close to each other, apply all extra money to the account with the lowest balance. Then when that one account is paid off, apply all extra money to the next account. So you want to single target a card. If you have 2 credit cards with debt and both of them have a 24% interest, don't pay both off at the same time. Just start hammering away at the one with the lowest balance. Put all your money towards that one. Eliminate that debt completely and then work on the next card. Rather than spreading yourself thin, trying to knock off all these payments at once, because the interest is gonna, now you're paying against 2 interests rather than just focusing on eliminating 1 interest at a time. Strategy number 2 is what I recommend to my clients all the time. If 1 or 2 credit cards have a much higher interest rate, pay those off first, then go back to number 1. Always pay off whatever your highest interest rate is, because over time, that's the one that's going to snowball into compound interest that is not good for you. And that's what's going to leave you in debt or bondage or financial insecurity for 25 plus years. That's where you see people paying off the same credit card for 2 decades of their life. This is what you do. You focus on whatever your highest interest rate is. So if you have student loans, if you have a mortgage payment, you have credit cards, you have a car payment, look at whichever one has the highest interest rate and you start focusing on paying that one off first. Proverbs to consider: whoever loves pleasure will become poor. Whoever loves wine and olive oil will never be rich. A second proverb is the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty only comes to poverty. And we all know those get rich quick schemes and pyramid schemes, all this stuff that had happened throughout the course of our lives, and people telling you, you can make $10,000 today with me if you come join this business or do this or do that. And if you build hasty, you know, there's like this proverb is saying, everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. If you build it quick, it's going to end quick. If you build it with diligence, it's going to last. It's going to have longevity. You're building for the long haul. Anything that stands the test of time, it took time to build it. Rome, you guys always say that saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome was one of the most powerful civilizations in all of history, right? It wasn't built in a day, though. It took time. Why are Americans in so much debt? The American culture of materialism. The term materialism has many different meanings depending on context. In this context, we are talking about the desire for material possessions. This desire seems to be insatiable. We buy because we want with no concern for the impact, right? The new iPhone drops every October. Oh, I need the iPhone 10. Next year, I need the iPhone 11. Next year, I need the iPhone 12. Even though it's the same thing, just a different size, and not saying you guys, but the American culture in general needs to go get the new iPhone. That's what materialism is. The new Jordans dropped. I have to get them. Why? Are your shoes beat up? Or you don't have shoes to walk in? You don't have 10 other pairs of Jordans sitting in your closet right now that you can wear? What do you need those for? It's materialism. We buy because we want, not because we need. Materialism, according to California psychologist Alan Kanner, feelings of satisfaction and happiness decline among people driven by a need for financial success and fancy possessions. People who buy into the values of consumer culture end up starved for close friends, family, or any deeper meaning in their lives. Money and possessions are hollow compensations for doubts about self-worth, worries about life's uncertainties, and especially fears of death. And this is why you're looking at point number 2, people who buy into the values of consumer culture end up starved for close friends, family, and any deeper meanings of lives. You see a lot of millionaires and billionaires committing suicide. That's why people say money can't buy you happiness. It just can't. A lot of people who they sell out in their life just to get rich, and they leave behind family, friends, everything just to get this money. But they get the money and they realize that they're more empty than ever. They're starved for deeper meaning in their life, for relationships, for their family. They don't have people around them that they could even trust. Now it's just people around them who just want their money. This is not everyone, but this is a lot of times you'll see it's actually a very high suicide rate amongst people who have a net worth of $1 million or more. It's very high. It's higher than people who have, it's a higher percentage than people who have less than $1 million in net worth. Money is a root of all kinds of evil. Is that really in the Bible? Does anyone know the answer to this?
No, the love of money is a root.
Maggie knows her word. I like it. Yes, sort of. Okay. Yes, sort of. It's just like Maggie said, it's the love of money. So look at this. This is in the New Testament. People who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge men into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. And it's just like Maggie said, it's the love of money that is the root of all evil, because money can be used as an asset. Money can be used as a very powerful tool, but there's a fine line between using money as an asset or letting money rule over you and have control over you. List the characteristics of people who want to get rich. Anyone could just start shouting them out. Sometimes they could be ambitious. That's one. People who want to get rich, they're usually very ambitious. Does anyone else have a characteristic of people who want to get rich?
Greedy people.
Greedy. Okay, ambitious, greedy.
Maybe they can be selfish.
selfish. Let's get one more.
Jealous.
Ambitious, jealous, that's good. So ambitious, greedy, selfish, jealous. They fall into temptation and a trap. They fall into foolish and harmful desires. They get plunged into ruin and destruction. They wander from the faith. They pierce themselves with many griefs. So these are the characteristics that the Bible in the New Testament was describing to people who want to get rich. They fall into a trap. The Bible calls them a fool. They wander away from their faith or whatever it is they believe in or whatever gives them purpose in life. It leads them to destruction. They pierce themselves with many griefs. It's self-destruction. You're inflicting yourself. Can credit cards be used effectively? For some people, no. Why? Because do you have the discipline to pay it off every month? Do you have the discipline to see charging on a card just to be just as painful as pulling money out of your wallet? Some people, they'll swipe their credit card and act like that money didn't come out of their bank account, like someone just spotted them or something. And it's like, no, that whenever you swipe a credit card, you need to look at that as that just came out of your checking account. Because it is. By the end of that month, you got to pay that off. So, but a lot of people will swipe, max out the card, and then realize, oh, I got a payment on this. I didn't realize I have to pay this off. For some people, yes, cashback credit cards can help reduce costs if you can avoid interest and fees. And again, that's the whole thing right there is the interest on these credit cards. So breaking the living paycheck to paycheck cycle, getting on a budget to live within your means, budgeting basics. How to make a zero-based budget. How to make a zero-based budget. Write down your monthly income. Write down your monthly expenses. Food, shelter, utilities, clothing, transportation, gas. List other monthly expenses. Don't forget your saving and giving categories as well too. So me, I tithe to my church. I give back to the kingdom of God. I would throw that in there as an expense. It's because I include that into my everyday budget, my everyday accounts. So write down your non-monthly expenses, seasonal expenses such as a holiday, a birthday, anniversary, a vacation, and then irregular expenses like car registration, property taxes, insurance premiums, maybe sometimes things you'll pay once a year. Subtract your income from your expenses to equal 0. So track and go. We're not going to do this right now just for the sake of time, but this is a great slide to learn the basics of budgeting. Okay. So goal, every dollar must have a name. 13 budgeting tips for your daily life. Budget to 0 before the month begins. Do the budget together. Every month is different. Start with the most important categories. Pay off your debt. Don't be afraid to trim the budget. Make a schedule and stick to it. Track your progress. Create a buffer in your budget. Cut up credit cards. Use cash for budget categories that trip you up. Be content and quit the comparisons. Have goals and give yourself lots of grace, because whatever plan you do set up, it's not going to go smooth. It's not going to go 100% according to plan. Make sure you give yourself grace. It's not you that failed. Nobody is perfect. Nobody gets this right every single time. I don't care how smart you are, how rich you are. It's not going to go perfect. So give yourself lots of grace on this plan that you're making. Some recommended budget apps. Number 1, you need a budget, YNAB, it's $84 a year. 2, envelopes, there's 3 versions of it. The basic is $55 a year. And the third one is Quicken. There's 2 versions. Start is $40 a year. I mean, when you divide $40 a year by 12, you're looking at, $4 a month, $4.30 a month or something like that. And then number 4 is Mint. I've used Mint before, really good app. It's completely free. And there's one also called Rocket Mortgage that I like. Mint and Rocket Mortgage, they're both free, amazing apps to help you on your budgeting. 3 pennies earned. We're not kidding. In month 1, the man gets his credit card bill and decides to pay $35 a month to pay it off. When he pays $35 from his bank account, how much did he actually have to earn? 28% went to federal tax, 6.5 to state tax, 6% to Social Security, and 1.5% to Medicare. He has to earn $63 if 42% goes to taxes. At 18% interest, $15 out of that 35 he paid is interest. So $63 earned, paid, down $20 in debt. He had to earn $63 to pay down $20 in debt. This is what we meant by 3 pennies earned, that statement earlier. And you can see why he had to earn $63 and only a third went towards paying debt because of taxes and because of interest. It adds, taxes adds an extra penny, interest adds an extra penny. So you go from 1 penny to 3 pennies. Perspectives on personal finances. If I spend less than I make each month, I'm good. Why do car salespeople and realtors start with how big a payment can you afford? Is that the right question? Anyone been sold a car where a car salesman or any salesman in general just said like, how much can you afford? Yeah, how'd that make you guys feel?
It just makes you, I mean, they're working on commission, right? So all they care about is how much you spend.
That's the first thing I hear is this guy's greedy. This guy's
Yep.
thinking about his commission. This guy does not care about servicing me, taking care of me, what my needs are. He's looking for money, right? Looking for
Exactly. I'm actually a former real estate agent, and that's
money.
100% the truth. We're
Right.
gonna get you the highest. We're gonna get you the highest payment we can to get the biggest commission.
There you go. Yeah.
And that's exactly why I changed careers. So
What'd you change to, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm a nurse. So nursing.
Oh, sorry, you kind of broke up. Did he break up for you guys?
Am I here now?
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I'm a nurse now. I was in nursing school. I did real estate, and
Oh, yeah.
I realized how crooked the market was, or how crooked the field was, and I said, okay, this isn't for me. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hung up the hat and took off.
You got a great career hopping into nursing. That's good because that's not easy to do. And I'm in finances. So I'm in the financial industry. And so you see it all the time, you know, greedy agents. I'm not going to lie. When I first started my first 6 months, it was all about the commission for me. I didn't care about the families or the client. I wanted to get rich. You know, I was young, just out of college. I was all commission based. I'm thinking about the money. Now that I've grown and matured and have experience in business, I've realized it's all about the customer service and taking care of the client and the longevity of that relationship, building that relationship with the client. And when I do that, when I only focus, I've learned to just focus on taking care of the client, not even checking what my commission is on this deal until after I've helped the client out fully, answered all the questions, got them the exact plan they wanted. I don't even look at commission until after the deal is done. And that has completely changed my mindset on how I do business, because now my whole focus is how can I serve you? How can I help you as my client? Instead of, I wonder how much I'll make off this. Because then it pollutes the way you're thinking. It pollutes your business. You'll start funneling the client into a product or a car or whatever it is that's going to make you more money, but it might not be in their best interest. So no, the right question is, what is the payment for the car I need? Right? Not the car. Also think about that word need, not want, not the car you want. You know, it's not the Bugatti, it's not the Ferrari, whatever the exotic car is. It's what car do I need? So common ways to waste money. Fees, late fees, overdraft fees, checking account fees. Another way, high interest, signature loans, credit cards, many second mortgages. Replacing working items with new items too quickly, cars, TVs, computers. I've had this laptop for about 6 years now. So Dan's talking mess about it doesn't work because I buy cheap stuff, but hey, I made it last 6 years, right? And I refuse to buy a new one until this thing breaks. So I'm sticking with this laptop. Paying someone else to do what you are capable of doing when you can't really afford it. That's a big one. Lottery tickets, a tax on people who are bad at math. Because if you know your odds to win the lottery, you probably wouldn't buy those tickets, but to each their own. It is easy to buy a $3,000 car. Just buy a $20,000 car with 60 monthly payments. Author unknown. The debt reduction loan myth. Suppose you have 10,000 in credit card debt at 18% due to overspending, or it's 18% is due to overspending 500 a month. And you get a debt reduction loan of $10,000 at 9% plus $100 in fees. It's a lot of numbers there for you guys. How much have you reduced your debt? You had a $10,000 credit card, 18% of it's due to overspending, which is $1,800 that you owe. And you get a debt reduction loan of 10,000 at 9% plus $100 in fees. So you cut your interest in half. Think about it. You went from 18% due to 9%. So you cut that payment in half. You went from $1,800 payment to a $900 payment. Your fees earlier were $500. Now your fees are $100. So you cut your fees down by $400. But think about this, none, because on day one, you have 100 more in debt. You still have that $10,000 debt. Yeah, you paid off the credit card debt, but now you owe 10,000 to whoever you got this loan from. And you picked up $100 fee. This is how those quick loan places like Speedy Cash and Quicken Loans, this is how they get people. People get into debt on credit cards, $10,000. They go to Speedy Cash and Speedy Cash says, hey, we'll give you a $10,000 check right now. You just owe us 100 in fees and then you pay us back, you know, when you can, or on monthly installments. People are like, yes, I just got out of debt. Thank you so much. They'll take that 10,000 and run and go pay off the credit card, not realizing all they did is just transfer their debt from the credit card company to Speedy Cash or Speedy Loans. And they picked up an extra $100 fee. They actually just went more in debt. Suppose you have 10,000 in credit card debt at 18% due to overspending 500 a month, and you get a debt loan of reduction. Oh, this is the same thing. If your required minimum payment is reduced from 200 to 100 a month, what is the impact? If your required minimum payment is reduced from 200 to 100 a month,
It's gonna pay a lot longer.
it's
Yeah.
gonna take a lot longer. But now instead of overspending 500 a month, you'll overspend 400 a month. But like Jason said, it's going to take you a lot longer to pay it off, twice the time, because you just cut your payments in half. Where will you be in 2 years? You'll owe $9,000. This is after 2 years of payments. You'll owe $9,000 on your debt reduction loan and $10,000 on your credit card. Doesn't sound like a win-win at all. It only works if you cut up your credit card. So now, if you guys know how to be responsible with a credit card, of course, it can help establish credit and be able to get you access to assets that you wouldn't be able to without credit, because in the US economy, credit is king. Can't get a house without credit. You can't get a car without credit, or a cosigner who has good credit. Can't really do too much of anything without credit nowadays. A parable to consider. A man was going on a journey and called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. So one, he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went out once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold? See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. What are the characteristics of the first two investors? And I'll go back to it. We can just get one answer here. What was something that you noticed out of these first two investors?
They went out and did some work.
Went out and did some work, right? The man with 5 bags doubled his money, came back with 5 bags more. The man with 2 bags, when invested it, came back with 2 bags more. Okay. What is the master's reaction to their behavior?
He was pleased.
Very pleased, right?
Yeah.
His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things, right? And what are the characteristics of the third investor?
Lazy.
Lazy. And what was his master's reaction to that? Is just what you just said, Maggie, is he called him a lazy and wicked servant. Is it fair that some investors have more than other investors? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
If they're good at their job, yes.
Work.
Okay, so you say yes, if they're good at their job, right? And that's
Yeah.
a good point. You brought that up because if you look back here, it says he entrusted at the top. He called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. One, he gave 5 bags, another 2 bags, another 1 bag, each according to his ability.
His abilities. Yeah.
Each according to his ability. And you see why. The man with 5 bags already knew money. He knew how to handle it. He was able to go and flip it and make double profit, right? The man with 2 bags, he already knew how to work with 2 bags. And you see why the man with 1 bag only got 1 bag. He just went and buried the money in the ground, right? Buried his talents in the ground, buried his all his attributes, everything that he had going for him, just buried it in the ground. Answer, it doesn't matter. It's just a fact of life. And it is. I learned really early, you know, don't be jealous of what other people have. Don't wish that you had it. Why? Because you can wish all you want. It's not yours. It's not going to change anything. What you can do is you work with that 1 bag that you have and you go make 2 bags with it. And then you invest it and you work hard at it. Whatever you have, you start where you are, you work hard with it, and you increase and increase and increase. It's 1 step at a time. What is the message of the parable? Everyone had a chance to do something with whatever they had. And I kind of was just speaking on this. Just work with what you got. You play the hand you're dealt. You don't complain that your hand is bad. You don't complain that this person has a better opportunity than you. You know why? Because there's always someone out there with a worse opportunity than you. There's always someone out there who has less than you do. And they're not complaining. They're working to catch you. So you have to have that same mindset. You be grateful that you are blessed. You have more than most people have, whether you realize it or not. And then you work with whatever you have. Recommended readings for more on personal finances. Read books from Dave Ramsey, Larry Burkett, Howard Dayton, Ron Blue, and Randy Alcorn. Total Money Takeover, Money Matters, Your Money Counts, Taming the Money Monster, Money, Possessions, and Eternity. I've read Money, Possessions, and Eternity, and I've read Money Matters. They're pretty good books. I haven't read the other 3, but I know Money Matters and Money, Possessions, and Eternity are really, really good books. So if you guys want to take a picture of this is really good books. Just if you ever want to increase your knowledge in finances, all of us can always learn more just about personal finances. All right, let's keep moving on. We'll skip the Dave Ramsey sample. Retirement. There's no historical basis for retirement. For the last 6,000 years, people needed to work as long as they were able just to survive and provide. Families stayed together, provided for invalid grandparents. Until around 200 years ago, very few died of old age. So as the economy grew in the 19th century, society enacted child labor laws, 40-hour work weeks, and invented retirement. What came first? I'm guessing out of the child labor laws, 40-hour work weeks, and invented retirement. Anyone want to take a guess at what came first?
I don't know why, but I feel like it's retirement that was first.
The child labor laws?
Retirement.
Oh, retirement. Okay, retirement. Oh, division of labor and productivity. When Social Security was passed and the retirement age was set to 65, the life expectancy of a man was 68. The average male lived to 68 years old. And our government set the retirement age. With that knowledge, they set it to 65. So what was the retirement that the government was looking to provide people? It was a 3-year retirement. They looked at the life expectancy. Okay, boom, people are on average are dying at 68 years old. So what's the retirement age? 65. Retirement has become the main goal of many Americans. They gear their working years towards the day when they can sit around, travel, play games, do leisure activities, go on vacations, go golfing. They talk about early retirement at 60, 55, 50 years old. They use websites and calculators to determine how much they need to build up in order to retire. Retirees were studied for 18 years based on being in one of the 4 groups: healthy and retired early, healthy retired after 65, less healthy retired early, and less healthy retired after 65. The healthy group was 11% less likely to die if they waited until after 65. The less healthy group was 9% less likely to die if they waited until after 65. Consider a change in your perspective. Forget the notion that you deserve a time in your life when you don't have to do anything. If you enjoy your work, plan on working as long as you are able and give away more. If you don't enjoy your work, think about finding work you do enjoy. Because people who sit there fantasizing all day about retirement, it's very clear they don't enjoy what they're doing. They're not, and they might be making an impact, whatever they're doing. They might not, but they're obviously not passionate about it. Because when you're passionate about something, you love it, you put your all into it, you're not thinking about the day that you could stop doing it. So this is just an encouragement to, if you're not truly passionate about what you're doing, maybe it's time to just really evaluate, sit down and brainstorm and think about what you are passionate about, and then come up with a strategy or a plan on how you can turn that into an income. Consider a change in your perspective. Think about what you can do to make today more fulfilling instead of thinking someday in the future will be better. So having a right now attitude, a right now mindset. Save for retirement only based on your reduced ability to earn in the future, because eventually your health does go away over time. As we get older, as we age, our health declines and deteriorates. So you're not going to be able to work 80-hour weeks, when you're 75, 80 years old. So it's saying save for retirement based on your reduced ability to earn in the future towards those later years. If you want to work towards a time when you can devote all your time to volunteer work, that would be a worthy alternative. Be generous with the rest. This is your best opportunity. Live large. Next week is our last week for the class. Please complete all assignments. Finish Poverty Inc. Make sure your recap is turned in. Email Beth if you guys need the worksheets or if you need anything else regarding that. But definitely watch Poverty Inc. It's very eye-opening. It's going to educate you on a lot of how we view third world countries. Another thing that was interesting too, and Martin talked about this, even how the media portrays Africa, for example, that they're incapable of providing for themselves, that they're a poor country, that it's just war ravaged, is torn up, there's no natural resources. But in fact, that's not true. They have an abundance of natural resources. They have people who are more than capable of providing for themselves if they were just presented with the opportunity. But what do? We give them so much free stuff and free aid and free this and free that. And it's all this free is actually crippling their economy and making it dependent on first world countries. So it's a great documentary. I'm definitely promoting and selling it if you guys can't tell. Final grant presentations. Anyone who hasn't presented, next week is your last chance to present. You can always watch a recording of these videos and see how Maggie, Hannah, and Jason presented today, or anyone from the past weeks. They did an amazing job. The class could run over 15 to 30 minutes to finish the presentations next week. And we'll see you next week. Does anyone have any questions or last minute comments, concerns, or thoughts on the lesson today? No,
I
you
just
guys
had
are
a
all good?
comment.
Yes, sir.
I just gonna, I don't know if you mentioned it like early on, but I mean, there's that on the givinguniversity.org, there's that place where it has all those forms that you need. Maybe make sure everybody knows that you can get the survey for poverty.inc and the one for doing the grant evaluation there.
Perfect. And say that again, exactly where that's at. He's telling you guys exactly where the worksheet is for Poverty Inc. and everything that you would need, all the resources.
On the givinguniversity.org, there's a when you click in the little bush in the upper right hand corner, you have a pull down menu and you can select the student selection there, and that's where the various forms was. So just mentioning that in case no one heard that before, where the forms are for doing the poverty.inc questionnaire or the grant evaluation.
Hey, Josh,
Yes, sir.
I'll go ahead and unshare. Oh, there you go. I'll show you. And also I'm going to play that one video. I think we got enough time.
Yeah, we have a
the
couple extra minutes.
The Dave Ramsey video.
Okay.
Let me find the one page first. Hang on. And let me share real quick. That's the web page, and let me see if I can scoot this over. If you go to the three little lines up here, it's the student page right there, and all your documents are right in here. And so that's where they are. Also, next week, Josh and I are in Mexico. We get back probably on time, but Beth Kura is going to be the lead teacher. Josh and I may jump on the call, and but she'll be the one that's kind of giving you the material. So sometimes we run kind of close on some of these activities, like trips. So anyway, I'm going to play this one video for you, if I can find it here. This is the Dave Ramsey video. It's got it here somewhere. Let me stop the recording real quick.